My friends, the US is losing too many aircraft against Iran. We're a month into this war, and these are all the aircraft the US has lost officially.
This war has been won.
But you know what? Most of them were destroyed on the ground. And you know why? The geniuses of the US Air Force just parked their big bulky aircraft side by side, fully exposed. Leaving your most valuable assets in plain sight like that is criminal incompetence. There's no other way to put it. The US laughed at Russia for Operation Spiderweb without learning a single lesson from it. Unknown technology.
First time.
Contrary to all the announcements, Iranian air defense is still solid. And now the worst part is that the Iranians also maintained enough strike capabilities to fire back. Everything is going according to plan. That's how on the 27th of March, Iran managed to hit the Prince Sultan Airbase in Saudi Arabia. Again! This is the fourth time. The base just kept getting hammered over and over. And that's how the Iranians managed to destroy a super critical E-3 Sentry AWACS. Possibly two, as well as multiple KC-135 Stratotankers.
This war has been won.
It's a complete disaster. So in this video, we'll talk about the latest Iranian strike that destroyed the E-3 Sentry AWACS. But before that, we'll go through a summary of all the US aircraft lost since the beginning of the war. Let's start with a quick word from today's sponsor. Hey guys, real quick before we keep rolling, today's video is sponsored by Chat LLM by Abacus AI. And honestly, this is the one AI tool you will use every single day. Nowadays, we're swarmed by LLMs. ChatGPT 5.2, Claude Opus 4.6, Gemini 3 Pro, Grok 4.1, DeepSeek. So many to choose from. Chat LLM gives you everything in one place for only $10 a month. Route LLM automatically picks the best model for you depending on your prompt. Same for AI image and video generation. Chat LLM supports Nano Banana Pro, Grok Imagine, Seedream 4.5, ChatGPT Image Gen Model, Kling, you name it. Tired of AI sounding texts? Just click Humanize and problem solved. Oh, you forgot to make a PowerPoint for tomorrow's presentation. Abacus AI builds full professional presentations instantly. The star is Abacus AI Deep Agent, a beast that autonomously codes features, builds apps, websites, AI agents, hits GitHub with PRs, and handles deep research like a full team. All this for just $10 a month. Way cheaper than separate subscriptions for all these AI services. And with huge token limits. No more juggling tabs. Try it now by clicking the link in the description below. It all started on March 1st when 3 American F-15E Strike Eagles were shot down over Kuwait. I already talked about it in this video, but essentially it was a friendly fire incident. Here's the first F-15 in complete freefall. In this one we can observe a second one crashing down in flames. And for the third one, someone recorded the moment it got hit by a missile. This is important because people thought it was a friendly fire incident involving a Patriot missile. But the size of the explosion is small, which rather points towards an air-to-air missile. And a couple days after I posted my video, the following footage was released. We see the same F-15E getting hit in the tail, but then seconds later we see the Kuwaiti fighter jet that shot it down. This means the Kuwaiti pilot had a direct line of sight on the target. What can I say? Lack of training. He didn't know the difference between a friendly US fighter jet and a hostile Iranian one. But anyway, I guess the ghost of Kuwait deserves 3 victories. Shortly after, locals recovered the pilots that ejected from the fighter jets. 2 males and 1 female. Now if we zoom in on the backseat of this picture, we can see the pilot's helmet, which is the same helmet worn by the 335th Fighter Squadron of the 4th Operations Group, which is deployed out of Jordan. But in reality, we're talking about 6 airmen, because F-15Es are dual seats, with 1 pilot and 1 weapon system officer. So that means combat search and rescue teams found the 3 other airmen before the locals did. Now what's important is that the US command is not going to publicly announce all its aerial losses unless some death is involved, which they can't hide. For example, on the 5th of March, some Iraqis filmed a pilot parachuting down near Basra International Airport. Some people say it's fake, but the police in Basra were dispatched to search for a US pilot. And that was it. We didn't hear much more about it. So we can believe the combat search and rescue team retrieved the pilots before the locals did. How many more times did such rescue operations happen? And I mean, if there's no publicly available footage of an aircraft getting shut down, look, they're gonna stay silent. From what I recall, we didn't even get pictures of the crash sites from these F-15E Strike Eagles. So there must be teams whose sole purpose is to clean up the mess after an aircraft got shut down. Next up, on the 12th of March, the US Air Force lost another aircraft due to some incident, but this time, it was fatal. During a mid-air refueling operation, there was a collision between two KC-135 refueling aircraft. One of the KC-135 Stratotankers landed safely, but the other crashed in western Iraq, and this caused the death of 6 airmen. This is what the mother of Sergeant Tyler H. Simmons had to say.
When you hear the knock on the door, you're hoping that it's not a knock that, you just don't want. And when they knocked on the door, and Milo answered the door, I heard him say, "Oh no," and I knew, he was our only child, grandchildren we won't have.
What a tragedy. Losing your only child is really the ultimate sacrifice. Allegedly, in this video, we have part of the wreckage of the KC-135. But overall, once again, we were not told much about what happened. CENTCOM just kept repeating that the loss of the aircraft was not due to hostile fire or friendly fire. You see, they love to play with semantics, playing with words, because it doesn't mean that enemy elements were not involved. French-Canadian YouTuber Atishwe, a former Rafale pilot, had an interesting theory. According to him, a drone from an Iraqi militia group could have attempted to target the KC-135s. And while attempting to outmaneuver this threat while refueling, they collided. Oh yeah, most people are not aware of it, but KC-135s frequently refuel each other. The main reason is to keep tankers airborne during long-duration operations. I've also been told that KC-135 Stratotanker crews push an average of 14 to 16-hour shifts. At the same time, many pilots of the US Air Force consider the KC-135 to be one of the hardest planes to fly. Most of them are from the 60s, they lack maintenance, and something is bound to break. So both the crews and the machines are pushed to their limits. To make matters even worse, there's no hatch to bail out. And even if there was, there are no parachutes on board. In this article from March 2008, Technical Sergeant Chastity Forrest said, "It's one less thing for them to worry about," referring also to the time saved by not having to include parachutes in pre-flight procedures. I guess. At least they have a box at the back with a revolver inside it. 2 days later, on the 14th of March, the Wall Street Journal reported 5 Air Force refueling planes hit an Iranian strike on Saudi Arabia. We're talking about the same KC-135 Stratotankers. Now we're told that 5 more are gone. Prince Sultan Airbase in Saudi Arabia serves as a key hub for US aerial refueling operations for the joint US-Israel aerial bombing campaign against Iran. This is a Chinese satellite image of the base on the 24th of February, 4 days before Operation Epic Fury. I can count 15 KC-135s on the tarmac. Look at all these aircraft just parked side by side in the open on the flight line. It's not a surprise that the Iranians already attacked that airbase on March 1st. And this led to the death of 26-year-old US soldier Sergeant Benjamin Pennington. He was assigned to the 1st Base Battalion 1st Base Brigade. I don't know, it's weird to say. This is what Prince Sultan Airbase looked like on the 14th of March. 2 weeks into the war and there's still 43 aircraft in plain sight. The US Air Force is just asking to get wrecked. The Iranians first fired drones and decoys. Saudi air defense units fired everything at them. That's how one or multiple ballistic missiles went through and hit the base. As a result, 5 KC-135 Stratotankers were damaged on the ground. Now, we didn't have any pictures to see the damage that was inflicted on these aircraft. We were just told the tankers are being repaired and are expected to return to service.
Right.
Yet the following satellite image tells a completely different story. I mean, look at this mess! Look at the scar on the tarmac! I just see possibly 3 or at least 2 KC-135s that seem to have been completely burned down. They really talked about damaged aircraft that could be repaired and brought back to service. And then we see 4 additional aircraft that seem to have been damaged to some extent. And then the Iranians double tapped the same base 3 days later. As you can see here, once again about 20 aircraft are just parked out in the open.
Madness.
But this time they were not the target of Iranian forces. We can observe 3 confirmed impact sites, including 1 inside the US compound. In total, 3 buildings were hit: a C-130 hangar, a warehouse, and the worst of all, a gym. No, this is going too far. Nobody touches a gym. The gym is sacred ground. Up until now, you'll notice that all these aerial losses are due to accidents or some form of negligence, such as aircraft being destroyed underground. But the next one is undeniably due to hostile fire in the classic sense. On the 19th of March, Iran's IRGC released footage of a direct strike on an F-35A Lightning II. This is the first time that an F-35 was hit by hostile fire. This is a truly historic accomplishment by Iranian air defense. This is a symbolic blow to the jet's nearly invulnerable reputation.
A devastating loss for the enemy!
Not so stealthy after all, eh? For your information, had it been an F-35C, we would have known that it operated from the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea. But it was mentioned that it was specifically an F-35A, which operates from land bases. More specifically, 2 F-35A squadrons are operating from 2 US air bases in the Gulf region, one at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, and another at Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates. Now, if we go back to the video, the footage cut quickly, but in the last frame we can see that the F-35 did not fully explode, but it was definitely hit. CENTCOM remained strangely quiet on this one, but we all know what they would have said. CENTCOM cope be like, technical malfunction caused one of the aircraft's missiles to explode exactly at the same time as an Iranian air defense missile was locked in on the F-35. TWZ was also coping. US Air Force F-35 makes emergency landing after allegedly being hit by Iranian fire. What do you mean, allegedly? We all saw the footage. It clearly got hit. That's when Geoff Broomfield wrote this on Twitter. Our Pentagon correspondent reports pilot is in stable condition with shrapnel wounds. F-35 made a hard landing and won't be returning to service anytime soon. Or, in other words, the F-35 was shut down. If an aircraft is severely damaged by hostile action, or if the pilot is forced to crash land, then it counts as an aerial victory. Now the question is, what shut it down? The main clues are the small warhead and electro-optical infrared guidance. So it's either Majid AD-08 or KM-118 surface-to-air missile. They're among Iran's most relevant modern short-range air defense systems for low-altitude threats. But the KM-118 is primarily optimized for drones, like the MQ-9 Reaper. The footage's clean passive EO/IR lock and compact missile profile points more towards the Majid AD-08. The F-35's heat signature from the engine exhaust cannot be fully eliminated, especially at lower altitudes. The Majid's passive imaging infrared seeker, plus EO tracker exploited this weakness without emitting any radar signals. The F-35's radar warning receiver and electronic warfare suite likely provided little to no warning until the missile was in terminal phase. And that's a textbook SAM ambush. Now there's still many unknowns. For example, we don't know where that happened. Then it's a Black Hawk helicopter that was destroyed. Can you guess? On the tarmac. It's becoming a trend. On the 24th of March, pro-Iran militias in Iraq used FPV drones to fly over Victory Base near the Baghdad airport. The first one destroyed an AN MPQ-64 Sentinel radar system, and the second one struck an HH-60M medical evacuation helicopter. We can see that these militiamen are not really organized because we don't have footage of the destroyed helicopter. Usually you would have an operator flying a recon drone, guiding all the FPV drones to their targets, and recording the destruction they have caused for more PR points. If you want more information, I did an entire video about it. Link will be in the description below. The next day, on the 25th, after F-15s and an F-35, it's an F-18 that got a really close call. Let's start with CENTCOM's report. True, no US fighter aircraft have been shot down by Iran. As we've just established, an F-35 did get shot down, but it wasn't destroyed in the air. And then false, the IRGC announced a US F-A-18 fighter was struck over Chabahar using new advanced air defense systems. These people really think they're still fighting the Iraq war from 2003. Now everyone in the world has smartphones. Let's take a look at the footage that the locals recorded. Cheyenne, terrible camera work. We don't see anything. It's shaky. Oh, fighter jet. Something coming up, and boom. There was a strike. But I understand it can be confusing, so let's bring the VAR and have a look at it in slow motion. We can see the missile heading towards the F-18, and it looks like it does strike the aircraft. We can almost see part of the F-18 just flying off. You know, it's like when you play soccer or football and the ball brushes off the tip of your fingers. Do you call handball or not? This means we could be looking at Iranian troops armed with a MiSAG-3, an Iranian copy of the Chinese QW-18 Manpad, equipped with a 1.5 kilogram warhead. What we just saw is a US Navy FA-18EF Super Hornet, operating from the USS Lincoln aircraft carrier. We have this video from the 15th of March, where we see another one of the Super Hornets making a low-level strafing run with its gun over the same area at super low altitude. If we put the pieces of the puzzle together, the Super Hornet was already turning hard. Wait, what? No. Whoops, let's restart. The Super Hornet was already turning hard left as the missile appeared in the frame. Maybe the pilot was just lucky. Or he got cues from sensors. Or maybe the pilot saw the MPAD being fired at him, which prompted him to start evasion maneuvers. Anyway, that last-minute turn caused the MiSAG-3 to pass right behind and detonate via proximity fuse, instead of directly hitting the F-18. So yeah, it was a really close call. Now, something extremely important is how both of these Super Hornets flew right over the Iranian port city of Chabahar, which is exactly where I think the US Marines will launch their amphibious operation. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I recommend you to check out this video and look for option 4. Before we talk about the latest Iranian strike and the destruction of an E-3 Sentry AWACS, it's important to note that about 12 MQ-9 Reapers have been shot down by Iranian air defense since the 28th of February. There was this one near Khorramabad on the 7th of March, on the 12th of March, one in Kerman province, 2 days later on the 14th of March, one over Bandar Abbas, or like this one that was shot down near Shiraz on the 28th of March. Like CENTCOM would say, they all crashed due to technical malfunctions, at an average of $30 million apiece. These 12 MQ-9 Reapers that were destroyed sum up to $360 million.
My half.
But that's not all. Air and Space Forces declared over a dozen Reapers were lost to the Houthis since late 2023. Combined with the losses in Iran, that means the Air Force may have lost as much as 10% of its Reaper fleet. But the article was released on the 11th of March. So you can imagine the situation now, 3 weeks later. The attrition rate in this war against US-made weapons is so devastating. The US is gonna start feeling it within a month. And contrary to what we've been told, Iranian air defense is still pretty much active. Same with their ballistic missile launches. This brings us to the 27th of March, with yet another Iranian missile strike on Prince Sultan Airbase in Saudi Arabia.
Again!
The Wall Street Journal reported crucial E-3 Sentry aircraft damaged in Saudi base attack. Once again, damaged, eh? And then came the images. Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2, Exhibit 3.
It's all bullshit. All of it.
Yeah, they all look damaged beyond repair. The Iranians released this satellite image, and we can clearly see that it was an extremely precise missile strike, right on target, because they purposely targeted the most important part of the E-3, the section that holds the rotating radome, which contains several sensitive instruments including antennas for the E-3's AN/APY-2 surveillance radar system. And this happened on the western end of the airbase. Now you'll understand that this is a complete disaster, because the US E-3 Sentry AWACS fleet is tiny. About 16 aircraft are available, but only 50% are currently operational. Out of these 9 E-3s, 6 of them are deployed to the Middle East. -1 now. Minus 16%. Not only that, NPR reported how at least 15 US service members were wounded Friday, and how 2 E-3 Sentry aircraft were damaged. Well. That would mean Iran took out 30% of the E-3s deployed on theater. This is an unmitigated disaster. The E-3 Sentry AWACS is a critical US airborne command and control aircraft that provides all-weather surveillance, battle management, and command of air operations. And this means there are more gaps than ever in the US air defense network. But E-3s were not the only aircraft that were targeted that day. According to this satellite image taken by Landsat 89, there's a plume of smoke rising from the east side of the airbase as well. Meanwhile, Sentinel-2L satellite imagery from the 29th of March confirms multiple strike locations at Prince Sultan Airbase. We can observe a scar on the west end of the airbase. This marks the location where the US Air Force E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft has been confirmed as hit. There's an even larger scar on the main tarmac, which further confirms the destruction of at least 1, possibly 2, US Air Force KC-135 tankers. Looking at this missile attack, it's possible that even more aircraft have been damaged, such as a second E-3 AWACS. But that's not all. The large C-130 hangar that was already struck on the 17th of March appears to have been hit again. And overall, we can count 5 other impact points scattered across the entire base. Contrary to all the announcements, Iran has not yet been defeated. The Persian Tiger can definitely still bite. And the fact that the US Air Force still leaves such valuable aerial assets in plain sight without any sort of protection a month into the war is just criminal negligence. That's all I have for you today. See you in the next one.